Is Verdansk enough to save Warzone by itself? Or is there something more dramatic that needs to be done to really bring Warzone back to what would be considered its peak form? We're going to talk about where Warzone's at, where it needs to go, and can it return to its former glory? We're going to drop into Plunder here, and we're going to have a conversation, and it's probably going to make a couple of you be like, but trust me, by the end of it, I'm definitely going to have some valid points for you, so let's get into it. So I'm dropping in here with the Jack Headhunter Carbine for the Rival 9 and the Moors, because I figured if we're talking about the past, why not run some old weapons? These have been a lot of fun lately, and I figured I would show them off to you. They're a good time. The Moors is one of the only snipers that can one-shot headshot at any range, and the Jack Rival Headhunter Carbine is just a really good time, especially if you're good with the managing bursts. So, one of the things that we need to talk about is what made Verdansk. So if we cut out the whole COVID era thing and we just look at what it makes it different versus the other versions of Call of Duty, one of the things to note is that it was on the Modern Warfare 2019's engine, which is being known for probably one of the most responsive versions of Warzone that we've ever had. That is the one thing to be said about the current version of Warzone, which is even when you are doing everything right, it still feels a little floaty in a lot of points. So you really can't always trust your motions are going to do exactly what you need them to do. Especially if you're using some of these older weapons, like the bullet velocities just feel a little inconsistent sometimes. And sometimes it just feels weird trying to even land shots. But of course, that's neither here nor there. That's just a conversation about the way that the game's running right now. So Verdansk itself was a slower version of Warzone. Now, of course, when I say slower, I don't mean quite as slow as like the Warzone 2.0 era, but still significantly slower than even whenever we reached all the way until Caldera. People remember fondly the stem sliding and the stem boosting, but all of that was a Caldera edition. So that never really happened that much on top of the Verdansk side of things. And Verdansk itself didn't really have a lot of advanced movement tech other than that the tac sprint could be reset by sliding. And that's a conversation that even people like JGod have been having lately, talking about how realistically, if you wanted this game to feel like how it felt during that time, you would realistically just need the tac sprint to reset on slide. Everybody would be much faster. The infinite tac sprint wouldn't really be as much of an issue anymore because that's how you reset it. You just slide. And so with that, Warzone originally felt a lot smoother and a lot less floaty because you could cancel your slide at any point and then start sprinting again. And if you've gone back and played Modern Warfare 2019 anywhere recently, you'll notice the difference between Modern Warfare 2019 and a lot of the other ones that you've played afterwards. So Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, this Black Ops, any of that. You're running into the fact that the weapons all feel a lot heavier. Now, when Modern Warfare 2019 came out, we felt like everything was pretty heavy because we were coming into it off of a Black Ops game, and Black Ops is usually known to be like really fast and floaty, whereas Modern Warfare games tended to be a little bit more grounded, boots on the floor kind of on a situation, and when we started getting into Modern Warfare 2019, once we really got used to it, we realized that it was a very snappy ADS style game, which really kind of felt nice. And I think that was a large selling point of Modern Warfare 2019's Gunplay, was it felt like it was responding to you really, really well. And whenever you told it to do something, you kind of felt like it was gonna do it. Whereas right now, specifically in the Black Ops version of Warzone, we're running into a lot of animation issues. A lot of moments where climbs and stuff are not feeling great. Of course, you couldn't do any of that in 2019, so there was no like crazy mantle. Obviously, you could climb up over stuff, but you never attempted to try to do pull-ups. You never attempted to try to do these weird hurdle things. It was pretty much you climbed over something or you didn't climb over something. And you couldn't, I couldn't like jump up on that and then climb over the wall, and it sounded like a really cool idea because it was giving us the ability to kind of like catch ourselves, especially when we fell off ledges. So like this thing right here could never happen. Let's see if I can do it. Oh, no, can't do it. So the mantle up never happened in Modern Warfare 2019. But because of all of that, it reduces basically the number of animations that your character can go into quite a bit. And all the abilities to use everything still moved pretty darn fast. Whereas we kind of don't have that right now. Most of everything is still slow. Now, they did speed up the boxes pretty much, and that's really nice. But it's still not quite to the speed of what you would be used to in the Modern Warfare 2019 and forward versions of Warzone. Even when we got into the Cold War integration and into the Vanguard integration, we were still moving pretty smoothly. And it wasn't until we started adding in a lot of the extra movements that were capable of being done did the game start to feel as clunky as it does today. Now, people are getting used to Omni movement, which is nice. I won't lie, I do enjoy being able to run backwards. I think that's a really cool thing. It makes it a little hard to read when you're playing the game and people do that to you, but at the same time, you know, it's a neat little, it's a fun little interaction that you can have. Is it necessary? No, of course not. But it is a fun little interaction that you can have. And basically, if we were going to try to go back to what everybody refers to as the Modern Warfare 2019 heyday, we're going to be moving a whole lot different. Basically, all you have is slide cancel, and that's pretty much your only movement tech. You generally didn't do anything to try to climb, because that wasn't extremely fast, but it was fast-ish. I feel bad for him. I've now hit him twice out of the air. But it was fast-ish. And one of the big things that Modern Warfare 2019 was king of was bullet velocities and long-range engagements. So no matter what you did, you could be running either the Kilo or the M4 or the Growl. And no matter what you did, the bullet velocities felt good. You could fight over long range, and even though that the TTK was significantly faster, you still felt like you could always fight over range. And all the snipers one-shot headshot, which meant you could always be aggressive with ARs, but still fight long range with them. You could always snipe with sniper rifles, but still get those lucky quick shots off. Overall, the game felt like you were more effective at being a soldier than you do now. It feels like a large portion of this game has been slowed down artificially to try to give people, I don't know, longer gunfights? I know that we wanted a longer TTK because dying instantly feels terrible. But a longer TTK only really matters if you can still feel good when you're doing it. And I remember people were so fond of like the Kilo meta because basically at any point you were able to be effective against even counter sniping because you were able to land those shots, you know, pretty frequently on players. Flint was pretty solid except for against the Kar 98. That thing was broken. It shouldn't have never been that good. But even people love the Kar 98 and running that as well. And it was one of those things that no matter what weapon you really chose to run inside of Warzone 2019, you always kind of felt unique. But a lot of the weapons now all kind of feel like insane bounce for no reason. And they all feel like, I don't know. They don't feel as clean as we feel like they've been in the past. The overall amount of wobble and everything that you do, it's not as fun. Snipers, of course, have been neutered to the floor, with the exception of this and the Cat AMR. But even this one has been made. The Moors has been made to sway a whole lot, and that really doesn't feel good. SMGs now are, for the most part, just as effective as ARs half the time at range if you were good enough to use them. But back in the day, you could really, it really took some shots to actually be effective with an SMG over range. So you saw people run lots of different game styles. They were a lot of different style players. And I feel like in the old one, a lot more playstyles were effective. Now, of course, I could be looking at this through rose-tinted glasses, but for me as a player that played through all of it, I remember specifically in Verdansk, outside the times when broken things existed, like the FR 5.56 underbarrel shotgun that was one-tapping people from 20, 30 meters away, or you know, the doof whenever you couldn't walk into a building because you knew that fire shotgun was about to kill you. But for a lot of different moments in the integration, Verdansk did a really good job of allowing you to be an effective player. And I don't know how many people really feel that way now. I feel like right now, if you're not running the XM4 or the XMG, you probably don't feel like you're a very effective player, you know? If you're in, well, previously, if you were playing this game before the integration, if you weren't running the DIT tier or the static, you probably didn't feel like you were an effective player. And Call of Duty most recently has felt like they've gone really hard into the feeling of pigeonholing players into having to play with a very specific weapon set, because if you don't, you kind of feel like you're really at a loss. Now, of course, I would love to know how you feel about the weapons, because obviously your all's opinion means as much to me because I like to see it from different people's perspectives. And obviously I only have my own. If you have a favorite meta from the past, let me know. If you have a favorite map or a favorite integration, I'd love to hear about it. Because I think it's going to go a long way to helping us, you know, as a community connect to where we really want to be as the game. And then on the other side, here are the things that I feel like need to happen for Verdansk's launch to really feel good. And it's pretty simple. It's pretty simple here. Return player agency to the players. A lot of the guns don't always feel good. And I think when players feel good with their weapons, even if they are statistically worse, people will generally enjoy it more. People get favorite weapons. And when they have those favorite weapons not be able to be usable, people become more frustrated. And people become frustrated when they have to use one weapon or one meta for an extended amount of time. So giving players more agency to run more weapons is overall going to be the first thing that I think that needs to be done. 2, they either need to remove or smooth out significantly the player movement. So right now, the Omni movement part of it feels good, but a lot of the actions your character takes outside of Omni movement feel really, really slow and really, really clunky. If they want us to move fast, we need to move fast and be able to move fast, but still continue to move fast while doing anything else. But I shouldn't be sprinting really fast and then climbing exceptionally slow. I shouldn't be sprinting really fast and reloading exceptionally slow. They have gone through and buffed a lot of the Black Ops weapons for the reloads, but they're leaving the Modern Warfare 2 and 3 weapons out of that. Of course, they're going to try to prioritize the brand new stuff, but I would like to have the option to be able to run anything in the game. Again, we want to have player agency in the game. And then ultimately, with the release of Verdansk, they need to have learned and updated Verdansk to play more efficiently for the way that the game plays. Currently, in the way it is, if they released day one Verdansk, it would suffer and it would be probably miserable for a lot of players. The quality of life changes really need to come into Verdansk with it. And if they don't, you're going to see a whole lot of players have a really bad time. Us that have probably played Verdansk in the past will know what's happening and will be able to probably really abuse players. But new players coming into Verdansk without the idea and the memory of how broken, absolutely destructively broken the tower at the airfield was, we will definitely need to approach stuff like that again. And with the way that the gunfights are, most of the gunfights aren't going to feel very good at long range with the rattle and everything like that. And so there's so many open fields in Verdansk that are going to need to be updated, made them a little bit easier to move around, because right now, if we took every gun that we have in the game right now and we walked into any of the major outside of POI spots on Verdansk, gunfights would feel terrible. Absolutely terrible. Most of those fields are 200, 300 meters wide and zero cover. The vehicle meta inside of Verdansk was extremely oppressive. And it was because of that alone. The fact that in between every POI was 300 to 500 meters that you were just out in the open and you had just a stick tree or a small rock in places. So if Verdansk is returning, it needs to make sure that it has the updates to quality of life and preferably player agency on these weapons so that every weapon's set feels good for its combat ranges. ARs need to feel more reliable over range. And even if that means reducing their TTK and just so that there's less recoil, so that way you don't die instantly, I think that would go a lot further than allowing all of them to feel like crap. But that's just me. I'd love to hear where you're all at on this. And I think this is a good conversation we need to have now, so that way when we're asking for this stuff when it comes out, we at least know where we're trying to go. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, peace.